We're here outside St Finbarr's Hospital. This is the old entrance to the Workhouse since the Gorta Mór years. Here's a plaque erected 20 years ago by the local Famine Commemoration Committee, fair play to them. It's the only memorial we have in Cork City to on Gorta Mór, a matter of fact which we're going to be addressing. So to begin our annual walk, we're going to ask Norman O'Rourke here to play a small tune to get us going, and we'll take up more again once we get down to St Joseph's Cemetery. So Norman, will you go to the other please? So Gorellig Nave Joseph Sholacht Ur Nua Corta an Oig Shaw, a brand new plaque placed on this site. This is the actual burial site. You see the raised area, because there are, they tell us, 10,000 people buried where I'm standing, and it was such that they had to cover the site and raise it with topsoil because things were being exposed, and to keep it intact. So this is the plot. There is another plaque here to Gorta Mór over 200 yards over here from us, and of course we're in St Joseph's Cemetery, which was opened by Father Matthew, Father Matthew of the Temperance Movement, the patron of Cork, if you like, who himself is buried inside here, inside this walled off area, which was the original cemetery. And people can pay their respects to him in a moment if they wish. So I think, Norman, we're going to just have a kind of quiet and respectful enough ceremony today. This is our second annual memorial walk to Gorta Mór. It kind of dovetails with a memorial ceremony we have hosted up on Carr's Hill, where there are 30,000 other poor souls buried, which we held this year in September, and we'll do again in August, I'm sure, and keep on going. So Norman, you have it's our air in the nose in KE, a traditional air which evokes memory, and maybe people would like to just reflect while Norman plays the tune on the condition of the people who were left starving and disease ridden and without sustenance in a time of plenty, in fact, and how is it that in such a green, fertile land that we're standing on the ground of 10,000 people buried in mass grave. This cemetery incidentally was closed early in 1847 because of the sheer numbers. There was no more capacity. Father Matthew declared it closed, and Carr's Hill was opened up. But there are small cemeteries all over Cork City and Cork County, and in fact large numbers of people didn't have cemeteries. They just fell where they were and were buried on the spot, or not buried is the case. Norman, we do phone told them about. bhíonn amach go Norman chun fón na pí bill son Gorta Mór le éonóáid gaelachas sa point leis agus sin mar ceart mar haiscin gur gaaling an tanga leithúil a bhí ag formhór iad siúd a cortas sa nóig so. Thanks Norman, the pipes have a great Gaelic sound and they would make my hair stand on my back listening to them, to be honest. They add to an occasion. And it's good to have Gaelic tradition here because these are people who spoke almost exclusively Irish who are buried here. They're the poorest of the poor, and this is what their lot was. So just to give people an update, this on Gorta Mór Memorial Project Group started, I think it's nearly 2 years at this stage, 2 years on the go, and we have a name, and the objective is that a monument must be built in Cork City to respect the memory of our own ancestors who came through this period of Gorta Mór or didn't come through it. The numbers involved are all over the place. Traditionally we've been told 1 million died and 1 million emigrated, or 2 million, but there's lots of evidence to say the numbers were of an order a lot more than that. And either way, it was a pivotal period in the history of our nation. Pivotal because it changed everything. It kind of really marked the downturn of the Irish language, which even in people's own thinking was labelled as the language of the poor, and people needed English therefore to get on in life so they could emigrate, which was their lot. And the population in our country today hasn't even recovered since those years, despite our modern technology and advanced agriculture and so on. So this is something which is still dragging and holding on to the Irish people, that we have to address the tragedy and the enormity of what took place during Gorta Mór. So the project group has been organising. We're very delighted now to be in discussions with a number of engineers and architects in the city, prominent people and very good people, who have started work at this stage on a phase 1 of our project, which is site assessment. So different sites are being assessed from a feasibility point of view that would hold the monument in a setting which would be dignified, which would allow people time to reflect, which would do honour and respect to those who died, and respect by the history of our country and so on. So that process is going ahead. It will take a number of months. Phase 2 of the project, which we're hoping the same group of engineers that we're trying to get them to a contract with us. Phase 2 will entail creating a design work based on some principles we have already worked out, and the result of it will be we'll produce a little booklet and perhaps a website, say here's the monument from Cork, to reflect on Gorta Mór, and we'll begin fundraising in earnest. So this of course costs money. We've been collecting and are continuing to collect, but aside from that, we have only last week written to Cork County Council and to the Cork City Council, asking them for a very modest contribution, €5,000 each, to help prepare this work. That sort of money in no way would reflect the professional fees of these engineers and architects we're hoping will take up the task, but it will help defray the costs, and there are lots of costs in it. We'll appreciate that. So down the line we will have a monument to do honour in Cork City. The shame is it's taken us over 170 years to start talking about this. So now that the conversation is on, we hope we'll finish it. Now, I don't think we need to dwell on matters. I think we might, before we finish, Fiona, Ballyphehane, we're going to just put some flowers here, just to respect those who are. Thanks, Fiona. Some nice yellow roses. Just that people are not forgotten, and it's one thing being the victim of a terrible wrong, it's another thing to be forgotten and written out of history, so we're not going to allow that to happen. So Norman, I think you have a tune which is kind of a hymn. Sorry. Oh yeah, before we finish, like part of our fundraising, people may have seen these already. We have these little badges with just a black 4-7 written on them. It says on Gorta Mór Memorial Project. We're actually selling these for a £5 each, if that's not a sin. inside in the graveyard. And Eddie has them here. And if anyone wants to stay in the loop, if anyone isn't already in contact with the group through receiving text or email, please also leave their details with Eddie. He's got some sheets there people can leave numbers with. So having said that, people have their spirituality, and I think you're going to give us a hymn, Norman, Highland Cathedral.
The tune I'm going to play is about maybe 12-15 years old. It was composed by, believe it or not, 2 Germans. Now it's now a hymn which is played and sung in a lot of churches. It's called Highland Cathedral.
Before we finish up, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Councillor Diarmuid O'Kyla, a Cork City man, but in the County Hall. But we did invite all members of the local authorities in county and city to join us. I'm sorry that they haven't. I don't know if anybody else is here as a councillor. But we did receive, and to be acknowledged, we did receive an apology from Lord Mayor Councillor McFinn, who normally would be here with us, I have to admit, but he hasn't made it today. He's on our engagement. So anyway, we'll call a halt to the formal ceremony, and as I said, Eddie there is the keeper of Gorta Mór badges, so please dig deep, Guramagiv, have our own Navian, if that's okay now. Yeah?
And we played in Irish.
Played in Irish, yeah.